And thank you very, very much. Good to be here. One day away from the opening day of the Twin Falls County Fair. In fact, looks like the weather's going to be great for opening day. Maybe a little rain on Friday, but this weekend we have a change in the weather forecast. It looked like we were going to have rain Saturday. It now looks like Friday, which means the big weekend rush should stay dry if you're on your way to that fair. 807, Bill Colley with you, 51. A very chilly morning. I walked outside today and I wore shorts to work. And then I regretted it. I walked outside about 7 o'clock just to run a couple of errands, and I couldn't believe how chilly it suddenly felt. And we're going to see low temperatures this weekend down in the low 40s. Some places may even get below that 40-degree mark. Uh, yeah. Okay, well, enough of sad news. Some of the things we have coming up today. I have some stories about faith, specifically Christian faith, being on the run in this country. On the other hand, we have a small victory in court yesterday. We'll talk about that a little later in the program. Also, Steve Millington, who's the chairman of the Twin Falls County Republican Party, will join us in about 20 minutes on the show. But I wanted to open up today, and really, this is somewhat of a follow-up to the discussion yesterday. The refugee resettlement program that we have that's taking place in the Magic Valley and really in many other places all across the country is just one side of the same coin, because on the other side of that coin, you have the migrant issue. That is, illegal immigrants coming into this country as well. And so both of those things change culture. They change the face of a community. They may have different origins, but you see they are very much the same in that sense. I bring this up. I have a piece if you get a chance. I want you to go to our website, News Radio 1310 KLIX, and there's a commentary that I posted there called There Will Be Blood. And I ran through, first of all, there's a video posted I happened to see a friend sent me from Alabama, which is not, the video is not actually from Alabama. That's where she lives. But she sent me a video. And the video is from the Middle East, and it's these people who are crossing the old strait between what we used to call Constantinople, which is now Istanbul, and they're trying to get into Greece. And it's a video that really tells you a great deal of just how bad this migrant problem has become in that part of the world. You've got all of the people out there who are saying, oh, we've got to do something for these people, even though they seem to have no respect for any of the borders that they're crossing at this point. I posted that video. That's a link embedded in that piece that I wrote. So you can take a look at the video, and I also have, I linked to the story from the local newspaper on Sunday as well. The local newspaper wrote a story over the weekend about how great it is to have all of these people coming to places like Jerome, never mentioning the possibility that some of them may be illegal. I have a friend who used to live in Jerome and said the other day, I don't go visit there anymore. And I said, why not? And my friend said, because downtown looks like Tijuana. Not a very good assessment. So I posted a link to that, and I've got a couple of other links, one from the historian Victor Davis Hanson about immigration and some of these other points, all embedded in that. So if you have some time for reading, it's a rather lengthy piece that I wrote, and then you've got the video and 3 companion pieces that I've linked to. But I think it'll give you an overall understanding of really what we're talking about and the direction we happen to be going. This morning, I rolled into work and I saw a video posted to Facebook. There's a Facebook page. It's a closed group. But these are people who are involved in opposition to this refugee resettlement program here in Idaho. I saw a video posted from a TV station, which I guess is located in Nampa. It's Fox 9. But the TV station did a very lengthy piece about the dispute going on here in the Magic Valley. And I have to give them credit. I'm not necessarily any longer a big fan of television news, especially on the local level. But they really delved into the topic, the story itself. In television, we used to be told in the late 1990s to cut our what are called packages. That's the story the reporter out in the field actually does. It's not just the anchor reading over some video. We were told our packages should be 60 to 65 seconds long. How do you get a story done, you might ask, in that time period? It wasn't easy. But sometimes you need a few minutes, and this story that was from Fox 9 was about 3 minutes or so in length, and I thought they did a really good job delving into this. So a little bit of a tip of the hat occasionally to some folks in mainstream news media. They also explored the alternative views. They didn't just talk with Rick Martin from Buell. Rick is a military veteran who's really been the fellow behind the effort here to bring, in fact, this to a petition and then a vote next May where people in this community can have a say on the future of this refugee resettlement program. So they really went into depth talking with Rick. I think that's a good idea. Then they actually got someone who supports the program, and I believe that was Kathy Talkington, and she supports the program and talked about her views of dealing with these students, school students, and the like. And I thought for a moment, okay, we've got two viewpoints. Keep in mind, though, everyone says, well, there's two sides to every story. Actually, there can be 10 sides to a story. There can be 20 sides to a story. There can be 50 sides to a story. But I think we're all well aware, and I'll share this with you too. I think we're all quite well aware that in television news, getting two sides on is about the best you're really going to do with the time limitations that you have. The supporter of the program, and that was Mrs. Talkington, said that there are some very good and very needy students that she has dealt with. No one doubts that. No one doubts that. Somebody asked me on a board for Roman Catholics the other day if I thought there were Muslims out there who were good people, and I immediately said, yeah, King Abdullah of Jordan. Definitely. So, yes, we're not talking about the fact that a lot of these people are just decent, hardworking folks. We're talking about concerns we have that there could be people coming in under the radar, if you will, who could be, you see, when you introduce a virus of any kind, it's often introduced, it has a carrier, another form of carrying itself, and it doesn't take many, how shall we put it, bad apples to create some problems. She, though, went on to say, on a number of occasions in the story, she kept referring to we. We in this community believe, we believe, we think, as if somehow she's speaking for the majority or everybody. And I don't buy into that. Has anyone, as I said in just a couple of minutes ago, we're going to have a potential vote on this next spring. Has anyone actually done a survey? Because I would suspect that if you did a survey, you would find that there is a substantial majority in this community opposed to the resettlement program. The proponents also say the program is 35 years old. Why no questions or problems before? And why question it now? First, are there problems? Well, that's a good question. Do we have additional crime? Can we measure it? Additional crime, drug abuse, spousal abuse, etc.? Has anyone stopped over the last 35 years and considered that, actually tried to look into those numbers? Or do you choose not to? And I think the other point I'd like to make is maybe questions should have been asked 35 years ago, and 30 years ago, and 25 years ago, and 20 years ago, and 15 years ago, and 10 years ago, and 5 years ago. Maybe they weren't. That doesn't mean it was, it doesn't mean that we're wrong today. We have a caller with us. It's 814-52. You're on Top Story with Bill Colley on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com.
Why don't you grow a sack and just say you're myopic places in every country?
I can't understand a word you're saying.
Grow a sack and say it.
I can't understand a word you're saying. Hello? Hello? You know what? When you invade a country, you should at least respect the fact that the people in that country are turning around and providing you with all sorts of social services, with food vouchers, with rental vouchers, with free health care that the citizens of that country don't necessarily get. And it's that abject, that incredible disrespect people have who come here thinking that it's owed them, that there's a free lunch, and all you've got to do is come to the United States and attach yourself to the body, and then just start taking the nutrients out. 8:15. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. You can reach our program by dialing 736-0300, 736-0300. You know that story about Jerome? There was a good point made. Someone sent me a message about this yesterday. Good point made. The school district was talking about its difficulties in dealing with all of these people who are here speaking a different language. The police department is in need of translators. Now, this is a small community. We're talking, 10 or 12,000 people live in Jerome? No one even delved into that. Who's picking up the tab for the burden of having to bring in all of these additional people? Number two, if you're coming to the United States and you figure you're going to come here and you're going to sit down and you're going to, live off the dole until you get established, if you ever get established, the question then becomes, why can't you learn to speak the language? Why does the school system have to bend for you? Why does the police department have to bend for you? This is the questions that we need to be asking. If you're coming here, and you're coming here, I hope because you love this country, then why is it that you need this country to change for you instead of you changing for the betterment of the United States, your new homeland? You're up next. You're on the air.
Yeah, morning, Bill. Yeah, I've observed a lot. I'm from the Jerome area, and you know, basically anymore, we turn into a. There is still a lot of givers, but a me society, and we've also turned into those who are wanting to better America, keep our society, and then we have those who are a burden to society. It seems like the ones who are a burden to our society want everything handed to them. And I think the ultra left, because there is some good Democrats out there that love this country, and
Yeah, it's tough to find them, of course.
I don't think they realize what their party's about anymore. But anymore, it's just me, give me, and no, I'm not going to give anything in return. And I get really frustrated with the fact that I am of German background.
Uh-huh.
My grandfather fought against the Germans in World War One, and never would I expect him to speak German here. This is English.
Amen.
And when I travel to other countries, I don't expect them, that they have to speak English there. I try and get a language thing or whatever.
I think you're spot on. I'll tell you what, if you go to France and you expect them to speak English, you'll get a very rude welcome. 818, you're up next. You're on the air on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX.
Good morning, Bill. The reason why they're not learning the languages because of what Ramos said the other night is we own the country. And there's no sense in them changing their language because pretty soon this whole area is going to be Spanish.
Yeah, I walked into Winco yesterday and thought I was in a foreign country.
That's right. And what gets me is when these people are rolling out with a couple of baskets full of food and meat and everything else, and they're getting into Cadillac Escalades and Suburbans, and you and I can't afford what they're driving.
Again, I think somebody has a second income, and I often would question exactly what they're selling and if it is considered to be a controlled substance. But I thank you much for the call. We have a hard break coming up. Got to get to that. In a couple of minutes following the break, I want to share with you a column by Victor Davis Hanson, history professor, and he's at the Hoover Institute at the University of Stanford in California. If you've ever watched any of the History Channel documentaries about ancient warfare and the like, or even modern warfare, you're familiar with him. He's all over the television. But he has a column at PJ Media, and the title is How Illegal Immigration Finally Turned Off the Public. We'll share that with you coming up in just a few minutes, because he is spot on. See, I said we wouldn't be gone for long. A couple of changes I asked for here in the program, and they were gracious enough to provide those for me. 21 minutes after 8 o'clock, 52. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Victor Davis Hanson writing at PJ Media, and a couple of photographs are used to illustrate this. It's the little battle, the set to that Donald Trump had with Jorge Ramos last week. Ramos, by the way, I believe is Puerto Rican, so even though he has appointed himself the guardian of America's illegal immigrants by his Puerto Rican birth, he's an American citizen. So I don't understand why he is supposedly the leader of some sort of movement. He also used to be a Roman Catholic. He's fathered several children out of wedlock. You know, he's got a really good backstory there, and now he's an atheist. And again, I don't think that a lot of the people who are coming here from Central and South America, either illegally or legally, that they are coming here, that they're atheists and that they're producing in that manner. I think that they're coming here and they're still very strong when it comes to their faith. And again, I think they would say Jorge who, if they could. Well, this is from the column by Victor Davis Hanson. And he says, what did illegal immigration issue, we should probably ask, he's talking right off the top about Trump and the fact that Trump sort of interjected this issue and wasn't even thinking it was going to be the major campaign issue. Trump brought this issue up in his announcement speech just as an aside, and now it has become really the major talking point of the summer in this country. So he asks, why did the illegal immigration issue launch Trump's campaign? Why did this recent tense press conference exchange with Jorge Ramos please even some of Trump's liberal critics? And he said, what is it about illegal immigration that has finally turned off so many Americans? Number one, race. The operative buzzwords, if you were opposed, were racism, nativism, and xenophobia. He says it was rarely the host, but more often the activists on behalf of the guests who framed illegal immigration in racial terms. Activists foolishly fabricated the controversy as we noble Latinos against you prejudiced non-Latinos, forgetting apparently two obvious truths. 30% of Americans are not so-called white, and two, most people resent ethnic chauvinism. Is an unemployed African American sympathetic to the argument that someone has a birthright to illegally cross into the U.S. and find instant employment? You see, there's a question that I think begs an answer. And I think if you were to look at just the teenage unemployment in the black community, it's outrageous. You know, these young kids can't get jobs. That's why they're out on street corners getting into trouble. They could get these jobs, but someone has come here illegally and taken the jobs. Number two, the law. As long as there were only 2 million illegal immigrants, apparently the public turned a blind eye. No longer, extremists took legal noncompliance to an entirely new level of Orwellian arrogance, suddenly as if by fiat the illegal immigration lobby banned the term illegal alien, as if they had never read a word of 1984 or Animal Farm. They dreamed up Sanctuary City, a reactionary neo-Confederate idea of legal nullification, whose logical trajectory is the implosion of the entire idea of federal laws constitutionally supreme to state and local statutes. So there you go again. You've got people who are constructing, new language, and they want groupthink. He also went on to point out, you've got the main group who is backing this, calls itself La Raza, which was a term used by Mussolini and Franco. They were the dictators of Italy and Spain many, many years ago. And he says, La Raza is who President Obama turns to for advice on this matter in this country. What does that mean? It translates to the race. So these people have made it a racial issue. It's not we're all equal, we're all the same. They've made it a racial issue. Number three, Mexico. Mexico itself has become quite unpopular. Accordingly to recent polls, never have Americans had more negative views of Mexico during the era of Obama. Americans tired of being told that Mexico did not like the U.S., when the real truth was increasingly the opposite. It is not just the daily news of cartels, beheadings, and corruption that made Mexico unattractive, but the cynicism of the Mexican government itself. It complains and says the poor people that are here from Mexico, that they're just scraping by, yet they send home $50 billion a year in pay. So much for the talk that they're all just poor souls. Number four, the Obama-age progressive political narrative was that an old, too-white America was changing largely due to immigration and that this was a much-needed antidote to oppressive white privilege. They lost on that count. Number five, illegal immigrants themselves. The movement only recently has sought to finesse public relations. For a decade, illegal immigration was oversold as an arrival of dreamers. Once again, Orwellian use of language. Various future brain surgeons and physicists whose innate talent could now be tapped if only the U.S. would have the cruel legal details. But illegal aliens are not all dreamers any more than they are all criminals. They are what they are, good, bad, and neither. Poor, oppressed people who flee racist third world governments in hopes of jobs and or U.S. government support. In other words, the free lunch. It is still common to find at immigration rallies thousands of Mexican flags, with far fewer, if any, American flags. Illegal aliens, he writes, do not just root for visiting Mexican sport teams, but they go the extra mile of booing the American opposition. Hey, thank you for feeding my family. Oh, and thank you for letting me take your job. Now I'm going to boo your team. The message is incoherent, he writes. I will salute the country that drove me out, but less so than the one that welcomed me in. So, essentially, they're not even very good Americans. If they are Americans, they're not even good citizens. We have a caller with us. You're on the air with Bill Colley. It's 827.
Bill, I think maybe we should tell the government that we don't like what's going on by every time we do our taxes to, under dependents, start adding some of these people that our taxes are actually paying for. And I've told people for a long, long time, I said, these people aren't stupid. I don't think any race or anything is stupid. People can become stupid, but yeah. I think they've got a plan. they've got a plan just like the Muslims, and they're trying to take back what they think was theirs without ever firing a shot, and they're getting their done.
And considering what they created south of the Rio Grande all the way down to was it Tierra del Fuego? I'll tell you what, if they take back, thank you for the call. If they take things back over, we can expect more of that. I'm telling you, that's going to be a mightily scary, scary thought because they haven't been able to run their own countries for crying out loud. They've run those into the ground. That's why they're all trying to come here. Hey, quick note. Got to point out a couple of quick things. We have a new advertiser on our program joining us today, September 1st. In fact, we're going to have the audiologist in as a guest in a couple of weeks on the program. Did you know that the health of the inner ear is affected by your cardiovascular and kidney health? The inner ear is very sensitive to changes in your blood supply. If you've had recent heart problems or kidney problems, you should have your hearing checked right away. Diabetes and hearing loss are linked. If you are a loved one or you are a loved one struggles with diabetes control, it could also be affecting your hearing. The inner ear is incredibly sensitive to changes in blood supply. Are you on medication for high blood pressure or a diuretic? These medications can also affect your hearing. So we've been waiting for this moment because we're going to have her as a guest in a couple of weeks on the program too as well. But we'd like to bring this up and just mention it during this segment of the program. You can expect to hear a great deal more from Christine Pickup. She is the doctor of audiology at Mount Harrison Audiology. They're at 1218 9th Street, Unit 2 in Rupert. Which really, when you need to see a specialist, that's not really a long drive. When you need to see someone who's really an expert at what they happen to do. And hearing loss is also strongly associated with depression. My mother was one of those people, and she would deny that she was having the hearing loss even, but I knew that it isolated her from a great many people. And I'll tell you what, when that happens, it's very, very sad. And it's also often linked to dementia. So these are some things we'd like you to keep in mind this morning. And as I say, the doctor is going to be joining us in just a couple of weeks. I believe she's here on Monday the 14th. And she'll spend some time with us on the program and give us a rundown. And you're going to get a chance to ask her a question or two as well. It's 8:30. Steve Millington is coming up next. Bill Colley with you this morning on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and NewsRadio1310.com.